influencing someone to buy has to go beyond just that presentation of something in a social network to some random grouping of your audience. It requires some type of an active agent,
right?
Like the yeast of the campaign, basically. You know what I mean? Like, what is it that's going to have that chemical reaction? All right, welcome back, Danny, and welcome to all of you. This is our 20th episode, 20th week of Marketing on Tap.
We're almost legal to drink in the US.
One more year. And we've got something really weird today on the beer. But before we talk about the beer, I want to introduce the topic. And this is actually comes off of a bit of a back and forth that I had on Facebook. With a buddy of mine, Ted Rubin, and a few others, Lee Odin and others. We were going back and forth on a comment that Ted posted last week or earlier this week, which said, okay, marketers, let's get this clear. For the most part, influencer marketing equals media buying. And there was, I wouldn't say heated, but there was certainly an engaged conversation back and forth about, is influencer marketing really just media buying? And is that a good thing or a bad thing if it is? Obviously, that's something that Danny and I are very interested in. It's something we do a lot of here at Sensei Marketing. We wrote the book on it. I teach influence marketing. I asked Robert, do we really want to talk about this? Because we've had a few episodes, where we talked about influencer marketing. But I think this is a different spin, especially since it's coming from other marketers. And, Robert's comment was, people still just don't get it after all of these years. So let's delve into this a little bit further. So that's what we're talking about today. Is influencer marketing really just media buying? Is it really any different? And is it worth it still? Let's get into some of the logistics around that. But before we do that, as always, what are we pouring?
We have a nice winter stout here. Sawdust City, one of my favorite brewers up in Muskoka region.
Yep.
This is the Long Dark Voyage to Uranus.
Okay. Sorry. Wait, say that again slowly.
The Long Dark... You want me to do it sexy?
Sexy for me, please.
The Long Dark Voyage to Uranus.
The long dark voyage to your anus. Okay.
It's a Urinal Imperial Stout.
So, a urinal? Get out. No, really?
Urinal. Uranal.
Oh, my God.
Urinal. Sawdust, please correct me if I've pronounced this wrong. But yeah, so it's an imperial stout. So it's like a nice winter stout, hopped a little bit differently, brewed a little bit differently to get that extra, kick in there.
A little bit of extra ass?
A little bit extra.
Is that the brewing difference?
Well, their normal stout, I think it clocks in about 6.5%.
Yeah.
It clocks in at 9.5%.
Oh, okay.
So it's an imperial stout. It's a bit stronger. It's got lots of barley and malts in there. We should be tasting some chocolate coming through, like chocolate malt and roasted barley.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to taste this. Sawdust makes some great seasonal beers. So I'm real interested to see what this one's like.
All right, hang on. Before we do this, I got to get the Robert Cam working here. I want to see his reaction to this. He likes stout, so I think we should be good with this.
Cheers.
One. Cheers.
Robert.
Happy Black Friday, everybody. Do we have a little bit of an approval from Robert?
I think the silence speaks words. So yeah, he's enjoying it too much to say, no, I like this. This is really nice. Demerara sugar, a bit of caramel there, flake barley. So you can taste these flavors all mixing together.
Yeah, I like this. I'm a big stout fan. So I like a bit of a play on the traditional stout, which is really good. Reminds me of some of those cask brews that we had at Cask Days.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, let's get back to my buddy here, Ted Rubin. Influencer marketing is media buying, yes or no? Why don't we just start there?
I would say it's more media placement, as opposed to media buying.
Well, it is media buying because I think the point he's trying to make here is that we pay a lot of brands, and what I call influencer factories, these agencies that basically, have a den of so-called influencers that they sell access to, right? You pay for them. So you're paying these influencers to post a video or an image or whatever content you've given them to post out. And is that really any different than placing an ad inside of a newspaper or a magazine? It's just the modern version of that.
It is the modern version. I think the difference is with dedicated media buy, you're guaranteed some kind of views within a
Yeah.
TV show, a print magazine, whatever,
Yeah.
and you're guaranteed a placement. With social media influencers, even though some of them are getting paid versus some doing it, for either product or whatever. Yes, you're going into your channels. You're not guaranteed, even though you've got a bunch of followers. You're not guaranteed to be seen outside these followers towards your target audience. Whereas a print ad or a TV ad, you're maybe gearing towards more your target audience. So
that's actually a good argument. That when you look at a lot of these, the metrics that are being displayed or used for this type of influencer marketing campaign, which is the wrong influencer marketing campaign, just by the way. So if no one got that before, which is to just get macro influencers or these social celebrities to post something out there, they're going to show impressions. But impressions is based on the number of followers that somebody has, not necessarily the number of people that physically read it. It's really not that different, though, Danny, when it comes to a newspaper, because a newspaper will report impressions based on the number of people that buy the newspaper or the others, whatever their circulation is. However, there's a stronger correlation between readers and circulation of a newspaper or subscribers of a newspaper than there is Twitter followers and a tweet that somebody puts out that follows them. Right. I mean, you're going to have a much higher concentration or a better percentage of readers in that print circulation. So from that perspective, I think, you're right. You might just be better off buying media if that's how you're measuring your campaigns and if that's how you're running your campaigns. But I don't want to, take a look at our website. We sell influence marketing campaigns, so let's not shoot this horse here. Yeah. It does work? Why? What's the difference for me? So I'll start, and I want your opinion on this as well. For me, the difference is that when you do an influencer marketing campaign, and just for full disclosure, my comment to Ted here was 90% of influencer marketing is media buying. You're right. That's the wrong 90%. The point I was trying to make, of course, is that the 10% of us out there, and it's not just us, there's lots of good marketers out there. Lee Odin, for example, is one that's doing this really well as well. And he chimed in on this conversation. There's a difference in what we do because there's a difference between promoting a product and getting eyeballs, that fuzzy metric, are people seeing it, not seeing it, and actually influencing somebody to buy. Influencing someone to buy has to go beyond just that presentation of something in a social network to some random grouping of your audience. It requires some type of an active agent. Right. Like the yeast of the campaign, basically. Like what is it that's going to have that chemical reaction that's going to move? And sometimes the content alone is not enough. There's got to be something in the relationship between the influencer and the audience. There's got to be a conversation that they have, like what we're having here, or the comments that we'll get on this blog, for example. We know a few people that have said, hey, I've tried that beer and I really like it. Right. Because they've commented, hey, I like this kind of beer. On a Twitter post to me, for example, I saw you guys try it. What's your opinion? Well, guess what? We weren't intending to be an influencer on beer, but we influenced somebody. Yeah, and we're not getting paid. Yeah. Unfortunately, we are not getting paid for this. So if any of you microbreweries out there want to pay us, we're more than happy to take gifts. Just putting it out there into the universe. But anyway, that's that active ingredient for me. Like, what is it that the engagement of the post, the engagement of the contest, the engagement of the poll, what is it that the influencer is doing in a live event or on social media that actually changes somebody's buying behavior? Right. So that you could actually measure the influence on sales, not just on awareness, which is good. Nothing wrong with that.
It's the first part.
But that's only the first part of the bigger picture. So, what's the difference for you, like between those two types of engagements, brand awareness versus actually transacting a sale?
Once again, and to Robert's favorite point about data, you know which part of your audience segments are going to be ready for awareness and research, which are going to be looking for validation, which are going to be looking for purchasing. So then you have different levels of influencer that can impact each segment of that audience. So if you're looking at macro influencer, macro influencers to actually get the eyeballs and the first view of your product.
Yeah.
That's great. And then you want to take it along to, okay, who's a trusted guy that actually takes it to the next step and, makes a potential customer buy it. So the timing of the message has to be right. The actual, placement of the message has to be right. And the audience's actual place in the customer life cycle, if you like, going back to all the buzzwords, has to be right. So I think it's a mixture of the two, the right influence at the right time for the audience participation, if you like.
Yeah. And it reminds me of something that I've said many times when we make a presentation to a client about, here's my idea of an influencer marketing strategy for you. Inevitably,
Yeah.
I went to school, really, I did. Inevitably, what happens is this glazed over look. Like,
right.
What? That you mean I can't do this all in 2 weeks?
Yeah. Right.
This is a lot of work. It comes it's almost consistently with every client that I've made a presentation to about this. They're shocked at the amount of work that has to go into developing a true influencer marketing campaign that's going to drive the results that we can be proud of and that they're going to want to continue to pay us to do, right? Because we've delivered some kind of a result. And so, yes, I agree with you. There's quite a bit there.
Well, if you look at some of the clients we work with, it's like not 6-month campaigns, it's 2, 3, 5 year, multi-year campaigns to get to that stage.
Well, and I think that also goes, I think we should clarify that for anybody that's listening and interested, because I think an influencer marketing campaign doesn't have to be 3 to 5 years.
No.
Why, with many of our clients, we're looking at multi-year campaigns is simply because we're affecting different stages of that customer life cycle, that customer journey, from awareness to consideration. That's one campaign. But once we have them in consideration mode, what do we do from an influence marketing perspective to get them to buy?
Right.
And then once we get them to buy, how do we then take existing customers and move them along the rest of the life cycle to being satisfied with the product, getting over the cognitive dissonance that happens all the time when somebody buys a product, to getting them to be a loyal customer. And then how do we get loyal customers to become advocates?
Right, exactly.
Right. And then how do we get those advocates, incentivize them to want
right there, you've got like 7 or 8 steps.
That's right. And this is why it takes us so long, because it's not just one campaign. These are multi-campaigns that we take everybody through the full life cycle. So just to be clear, if you're going to do it right, that's how you're going to want to do it, especially for you brands out there. I want to mention one of the things that Ted said here, because I think it's important. I want to make his point of view clear because he's got a really good point of view. He clarified his comment, influencer marketing equals media buying. It says better, more effective media most often if approached and created correctly, and if done to best effect, community building. So I guess what he's trying to say here, he clarified his position a little bit, is that there's a handful of people who can actually drive sales with influence.
Right.
Who you've been calling influencers are actually content creator and hopefully community builders. So he's actually, while we disagreed on this point, there's some common ground there.
Right.
And for him, an influencer is a content creator. So somebody who's developing content that will, in fact, be consumed by somebody, not just a post. Right. So I think that's also maybe something we can talk about. Like how would we explain this to a client or to a prospective client or to a brand just in general? The difference between, somebody that just posts something versus somebody that develops content that engages.
Right. So content creator for me is someone that's actually affiliated properly with the brand, wants to see the message succeed, is properly involved with the ideation of the campaign, how it's going to look, what it's going to look like for return, etc. Whereas someone that's just a paid shill stroke media buy is someone that's already got the content created for them, and all they're doing is basically adding like an ad platform, like a Google AdWords from an influencer point of view. Post it up there, put a little ad disclaimer on their Instagram post, and I'm done, I'm paid, give me my money. That's my approach.
I think that there's also a difference between the use of the person, like, and are you looking at a macro influencer or what we call a mega influencer today? Right. Another buzzword out there for you guys. I mean, bloggers are just so desperate to categorize everything and to write new blogs. So we've got mega, macro, macro, and micro now.
But you're a mac and cheese influencer. I
actually hate mac and cheese.
Me too.
I just can't stand that stuff. Sorry, Kraft. Oh, but that's actually not Matt. That's not true.
No,
The connoisseurs
KD's,
out there, they're going to say that
that's
KD.
not mac and cheese.
That's not mac and cheese. Okay, so one example that we had a big debate with somebody in the media industry recently. Selena Gomez, teen pop star. She's not a teen anymore.
But she was known as a teen pop star when she came out.
That's right, because she was on that Disney show.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called now. But she had one of the most successful, I guess, influence marketing campaigns out there when she was photographed with. She posted on her Instagram a photograph of her holding a Coke, and it was the most viewed or the most liked Instagram post in history. She was until very recently, she was one of the most followed person on Instagram. So when she posted this, she got more likes than any other picture on Instagram had ever received in the history of Instagram. And so everybody was saying what a successful campaign that was. But when you take a look at who her audience is and the millions of teen girls that follow her and idolize her, the argument was how many people actually bought Coke.
Right, exactly.
Because they saw that. Yeah, they love the post. They love the image. But is it because they loved her?
Or Coke.
And if they did like, oh, you know what? Yeah, Coke is now, in my head. But did that translate to somebody buying a Coke? And when you take a look at the audience and you take a look at the demographic that's buying Coke, it's actually not happening, right? And I'm willing to have anybody from Coke come out and tell me otherwise. But the people that I know in the industry are telling me that actually didn't happen, that there wasn't an effect on sales that could be attributed.
Right.
Causation versus correlation kind of thing. They couldn't actually look at this post drove this number of purchases from the demographic that follows her. So that's a good example of posting versus a content that, to Ted's point, and in the best case, building community. If you're a community builder, that's an influencer. A community builder is somebody who not only posts something, but could actually attract a group of people around a topic in a particular digital platform or physical environment that gets people talking and engaged, just like we're doing now. Like, for example, I consider Ted Rubin an influencer on marketing. You take a look at his post. I've got it up on my Facebook page right now. Here, I'm looking at it on screen for those of you that are following us on our podcast. He posted this on November 12th, right? He had a bunch of people comment on it, and he's got a lot of comments. There's probably 15 or 16 comments just on my comment, on his comment, right? And it's all these marketers that are talking about brand influencers and the campaign. So to me, Ted is a community builder, right? Because he can gather a bunch of people around his hashtag ROR, return on relationship, which he and I have been butting heads on since the beginning of time. But the idea is, regardless of whether you agree with him or disagree with him, he brings in people and talks. For me, that's who you should be looking for. Yeah. Who builds that community, right? How do you find people like that?
Hard work. Hard work. I mean, mix of tools, automated tools, and good old manual labor. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's basically knowing who's instrumental in your industry, and then finding out where they are. And now there's a bunch of software that can find that based on topics, keywords, categories, or whatever. But then you got to do the legwork because the tools only do so much. And you got to put the legwork in manually.
Again, it goes back to that. Oh my God, this is hard work. I can't just push a button and some software is going to tell me who to talk to.
Yeah, just like any business. I mean, I'm not a business owner. I'm not really an entrepreneurial sort from that point of view. But I know, looking at yourself, guys I know that run their own business, how much work goes into it. Yeah. So it is hard work if you want to succeed.
Well, and this is one of the reasons why clout didn't last. Our favorite subject.
Yeah. So I always laugh when that name comes up. It's like a trigger for me. It's like, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's true because they were trying to say, look, we've got the magic formula, right? Give us money, we'll give you a bunch of influencers and poof, you're going to be rich. Right. And of course, that doesn't work. There is a lot of work that goes into this. But I would say to find an influencer that's a community builder as opposed to just a poster, the software is important. Yes, you've got to do the work. But sometimes a challenge works, like in terms of giving people tips and strategies. And maybe I'm working ahead to my takeaway. Here is, like some of the things we do when we're trying to identify influencers is actually put it out there to say, hey, look, we're looking for influencers, right? One of the new clients that we've just signed on, we're looking for influencers for a specific demographic. And what we're doing is we're going out to the wider community. We're building a community and we're saying, look, we're looking for 10 people, and we give them a challenge, and then we're going to find the 10 people that can drive the greatest engagement with this challenge. So you got your first wave of influence, which is everybody talking about it and trying to prove that they can drive the engagement. And then you pick the 10 people that actually drove the most engagement, not just, I don't care how many followers they have. Quite frankly, if somebody has 3 followers on Twitter, I don't care. But if you can drive that engagement, right? Another, so I will go ahead. So Bell, Robert is giving me the...
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen, for our bell. My takeaway, just to segue from that, sorry, I know usually I come to you, but I'm going to start here because I'm on a roll. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought.
That's what you get for showing off.
This is what you, and for drinking beer while you're trying to do these podcasts. No, but what we wanted to do with this one particular group is to put the challenge out there. If we can find that these are the people that are driving engagement. So, for example, with this one client, as a takeaway, we looked at an audience of people. We saw somebody in one of our communities, our influencer communities that we've developed, who has a massive social media audience. But when you take a look at the amount of engagement that person has on their social media posts, right? It's disproportionate. Tens of thousands of followers, but only a few engagements, or relatively few engagements. Whereas you've got another guy within this group that we were just talking about this morning, who has a significantly smaller audience, but much higher engagement every time he posts something.
Right.
So guess who we want to work with? Yeah. Right. It's the one that drives the most engagement.
And probably hasn't bought the fake followers.
And probably hasn't bought the fake followers, which is a whole other thing. Yeah. So to Ted's point, community building. But see, that's the thing. Media buying for me doesn't involve that community building aspect, right? Because there's, traditional media buying is just a push as opposed to building that engagement and analyzing that engagement. What's the one takeaway you want to leave everybody with?
No, I agree with, for a change. I agree with everything you say, but no, I think you can mix the two.
You will still get paid your salary.
Even though you don't agree. Okay, that's fine. Then I disagree. Take that with a pinch of salt. No, I just think you can mix the two. We've done it in the past. Where you get the hardcore influencers that drive the community building, drive the kind of conversation that a brand can learn from for either product improvements, service improvements, whatever. But support it with media buy. You don't be afraid to actually, get some of the macro influencers that will put the awareness out there for you. And then you get the community guys to actually drive. Once that awareness is there, you get the community guys to drive that whole conversation. That leads back to the research and,
so it goes back to that multi-step, starting from the beginning of the influencer, like use a macro influencer or to drive audience awareness, but then find a way to get that awareness and funnel it down to a smaller group of people that you can engage with your micro influencers to actually convert.
Yeah, exactly.
So look at the long cycle, not just the short-term thing. Anyway, I hope you guys got some inspiration or some ideas out of that. I know I do. Every time we talk about this, I have another idea that I want to run back to with one of our clients. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much, everybody, for following us. Yep. Or if they have they followed us, maybe if they're not, no. You got to ask. This is one of the lessons. You got to ask for followers.
Ask for followers. Yeah. So if you've been enjoying the vlog or the podcast, be sure to either subscribe, get the notification, like on YouTube or your favorite podcast channel. So every time we post a new episode, you'll get notified. And share it if you're enjoying it and you think someone else would enjoy it too. Don't be afraid to sort of recommend it.
And if you've got a topic you want us to talk about as one of our future ones, please leave a comment in any one of the channels that we're in. And if you've got a beer that's going to give Robert an even weirder look on his face, we're going to have a Robert
recommend
it moving forward. Yeah, please recommend it. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Cheers.